Welcome to the Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences, where we are celebrating our 70th anniversary. From the Division of Occupational Therapy in the Department of Health and Rehabilitation Sciences, I'm Prof. Nicola Plastow. My teaching philosophy is to be a guide for occupational therapists and healthcare workers through the landscape of occupation, health, and well-being. I aim to make this a transformative journey for both students and myself as an educator. So one of the things that I really love about teaching and learning is that as a guide, I get to show students what is really important through the landscape. And I get to plan the journey for how we start, where we're going to take a rest, and where we are heading for. But what is really great about a guiding framework for teaching is that the students are also experts on this journey, and they can also point out interesting things along the way so that we learn from each other. What is also really important for me in a teaching philosophy is that this is a transformative journey. We're not going to be the same people at the end of the learning journey that we were in the beginning. And so that means that we need to collaborate while we are on that journey. We need to get to know each other, and we will grow together as we go along. So what that means is that the journey sometimes can take a very long time. And so working with students, you never know whether you start with an undergraduate student that they are going to become your master's student and later your PhD student. So the journey may last for many years with the same person. I think the most valuable insight from the Teaching Fellowship project was actually learning what students learned while they were engaged in my teaching activities. So my Teaching Fellowship project focused on developing a service learning opportunity for occupational therapy students to learn how to promote social participation and occupational justice for older people who are living in Bishop Lavis. So the students participated in a service learning project in which they worked for 6 weeks in a social housing development for older people in Lavis and worked with the community to develop interventions that would work for them and meet their healthcare needs. As part of my teaching fellowship, I did qualitative research on what students learned about contextual relevance, occupational justice, and themselves while they were going through this journey. What we found from that research is that this was a transformative experience for our occupational therapy students. They learned about what it means to age well, particularly in a resource-constrained setting. They developed themselves as people and as professionals. They learned how to promote social participation in this very particular group of older people. And then they also learned about how to manage conflict. So conflict between our participants was a disorientating dilemma for students within this project, and it took over many years, many efforts to address the conflict. I think what we learned from that is that it's really important when we're working with people to understand the relationships between people, and then also to be able to address mental health and well-being needs while we are working on other things like social participation and access to rehabilitation. The Teaching Fellowship has fundamentally changed the way that I engage in teaching and learning. I'm one of the few people at Stellenbosch University who has been awarded 2 fellowships, and for that I am incredibly grateful. So the first Teaching Fellowship was in 2015 and focused on the development of graduate attributes within our occupational therapy program, whereas the second Teaching Fellowship then focused on promoting occupational justice. I think the way that my teaching has changed from being in the Teaching Fellowship is that I have become much more intentional in how I approach my everyday teaching, learning, and assessment activities. I've also become more intentional about how I apply teaching philosophy within my own teaching space. And also, I think engaging with the importance of evaluating your teaching and learning activities over a long period of time also really makes a difference to understanding how all of the other things that are happening around us are shaping the way that students are engaging in our teaching material. What I can also say about the Teaching Fellowship is as a consequence of being on the Teaching Fellowship, I was awarded the National University Teaching Awards Commendation Prize. And that reflective portfolio would not have been possible without the initial work that I did for preparing for the Teaching Fellowship and in the research journey that I've gone on while busy doing the Teaching Fellowship.